Every day she'll call and at least check on him, even if it was for a minute.
We had to bury her not knowing that's her.
How has this affected you over the years, knowing that you may have the evidence that could solve this case?
Oh yeah, it's bothered me for a while.
Good evening, and welcome to our Fox 29 News special broadcast, Murder in a Small Town Losing Loretta. Loretta Chaisson was the first of 8 women to die in a tragic series of suspicious deaths in Jeff Davis Parish. Their murders and the investigation surrounding them have become the topic of news investigations around the world. Well, tonight, Fox 29 News' Rhonda Kitchens brings us a never-before-seen look into Loretta's life and what may have started the deadly chain of events.
Yeah, we were real young. Couldn't have been more than 2 years old.
Nick and Chad Chaisson say they were closest in age to their big sister, Loretta.
Yeah, she was
a year apart, 2 years apart.
Their parents divorcing when they were still young.
But she'd come to my house, you know, and spend the weekends with me and stuff. Her and her 2 brothers.
10 years old.
10 years old.
Oh, that is a beautiful picture. She looked like a young Reese Witherspoon. Those were.
I've always said that. I've always said that. This is the one. This is the one that she would kill me for sure. You know, this one right here.
Even as they were growing up, Chad and Nick say Loretta was a handful.
She was feisty. Yeah. When we were little, we tried fighting all the time, but she'd always beat us both up.
Blackmail her for everything she had.
Oh, yeah. We owned all of her room.
I owned everything she had in her room. I tell Mama. She'd sneak out, go meet the boys. She needs to look, I'm going to tell her, I want you ready.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we owned the walls, I believe, at one point.
Yeah.
But looking back, they say they can almost pinpoint the very moment things went downhill for Loretta.
My grandparents come knock on the door Christmas morning, telling my mom was dead.
Their mother had been involved in a serious car accident. She would pull through, but the effects would take their toll.
Wouldn't let us see her for a couple of weeks. Loretta was missing. They couldn't find her. And for a couple of days after the accident, they couldn't find her. Well, finally she went and she took it over. I mean, that accident probably had a lot to do with the things to Loretta.
The mother that had always stood by their side was paralyzed.
I was 12. Chad was 13. Loretta wasn't much older, 14, 15.
So, and then from there, we really didn't have no childhoods. I mean, when we leave, it was always somebody had to be there with us. So we might have to leave for an hour or two and go hang out with a friend, but soon we get there, it's time to go home. So the other one go do something. I mean, I don't regret none of it.
And we started getting into trouble. It was easier to get into trouble because she couldn't chase us around. And I mean, I hate to say it, but we were teenagers, we were kids, you know. So I mean, we ended up being bad, but later on, not so bad.
Now, did y'all ever get the feeling that maybe Loretta was getting in too deep with?
She'd been in deep for years.
We tried to talk to her, but I mean, she just told us not to worry about it. She was never scared of nothing. No, she was small, petite, but wasn't scared of nothing. She'd go in the worst part of town. It didn't matter.
It was just the way we had come up. I mean, it was what we'd seen, what we had known, and that's where that's just where, you know, she had fallen into. It's not like there was somebody there to tell us any different from what we were doing wrong or what she was doing wrong until we were old enough to realize.
Time would pass and Loretta would go her own way, but her brothers say they knew if she was needed, Loretta would be there.
Anytime we needed anything, we'd call her at any time. She'd run over and come do whatever she could.
Didn't matter what she was doing, yeah, she'd show up.
She'd stop doing whatever she was doing to be with her family. Yeah.
She felt the heartbreaks whenever we had heartbreaks. I mean, she was always, I mean, if she saw one of us crying, and it would make, you know, it'd make her cry. And she always, I don't know, she just always felt for us. She never wanted any of us to hurt and do without. And we didn't have, we weren't rich, we weren't wealthy. We just, we did what we could. And,
Getting back.
Yeah, a little bit.
Through it all, Loretta continued to shine.
She knew everybody. Everybody was friends with her. She was a friendly person. A lot of people loved her.
Lots of guys. And to this day, I still hear from different guys, man, I wanted to marry your sister. I wanted to marry your sister. I know, you're not the first.
But Murphy Lewis would be the one to capture Loretta's heart. They would marry and have 2 sons. Although the marriage didn't last, Murphy says they remained close friends.
In the process, after we, got past all that, we actually became best friends. I mean, people thought we was trying to work it out, and we were just being friends.
Her kids didn't want from nothing. They had everything, all the toys and the clothes.
She loved the boys.
But still, Loretta's life was far from an easy one. She had run-ins with the law and was struggling with drug addiction that had a tight grasp on her life.
Now, one thing she did do, no matter where she was or what she was experiencing, she made it, even if it was for 2 minutes. If she was mad at me, she didn't care what circumstances. She would cuss me out and tell me, give me the phone, get a phone to my boys so she could say hi to them. And when 2 or 3 days went by, that's what made me know that something wasn't right.
But never did Murphy imagine what he was soon to find out.
I asked my mama that morning, I dropped them off over there, and I asked if she heard from Loretta, and she said no. And I said, it's pretty odd she ain't called those boys. And me and her wasn't arguing, so it's pretty odd that she hadn't called me to check on them. But that was a telltale sign for me.
And Murphy wasn't the only one with a sinking feeling something wasn't right.
Mom called me. I was at work. I was driving at the time. She said Loretta's missing. An officer had come by that was worried, he said. He told her he was worried. Loretta hadn't been seen in a few days. And instantly, she just knew instantly. And I said, Mom, I said, she turns up missing all the time. She always turns up.
Always leaving.
She said, no, she said, this time, she said, she always calls. She always calls me. Mom was crying. And it was just a few hours later when they found her.
Coming up, what happened to Loretta Chaisson?
I was getting in my car to leave. My neighbor came and told me they found her body in the ditch.
9 years later, still consumed by grief.
Living hell. I don't know. It's hard, It's just hard to talk about it even. Well, I was coming home from work one day, and the bridge was closed off where we had usually pass. And I was living in Lake Arthur, so when I got back home, Ricky Edwards came by the house and told me that they'd found her dead.
That was May 20th, 2005. Loretta, just 28 years old, found partially clothed, her body floating in the Grand Marais Canal near Jennings. At the time, Ricky Edwards was the sheriff of Jeff Davis Parish.
Ricky Edwards, Danny Sims, and somebody else, they were standing at the bridge and they said they seen the body floated out from underneath the bridge. And they all said at one time, oh, that's Loretta Chaisson.
But how she got there or even how she died would remain a mystery all these years later.
That's just it. We don't know.
There's no answers for nothing. From day one, we couldn't go see her body when they was in Lake Charles. We couldn't do nothing. I mean, we had to bury her not knowing that's her. We was on our way to Lake Charles, and they told us if we went there, they were going to have us all arrested for obstruction of justice. I mean, from day one, we had a closed casket. Never got to see her. So we couldn't even make sure that was her. which we know it is because she done came back for work. So.
What has that 9 years been like for you, especially not knowing who did this?
Like hell. No, it hadn't been good.
And for Loretta's mother that had survived the crash that left her paralyzed, losing Loretta was a wound from which she would never recover.
Loretta, they found her. She just gave up.
Yeah, she did.
She'd tell us every day, I can't live without, I can't do it.
That was her oldest kid, man.
Yeah. She's like she was supposed to go before any of her kids, and that's what killed my mother. That's what led to her death early. Mainly was losing her.
We didn't just lose my sister. We lost my mom. We lost several. We lost lots. Over this. And a lot of nights of sleep over this. No sleep.
Sleepless nights, wondering what happened to Loretta and why people she trusted won't come forward with information on how she died.
There's no doubt in my mind that there are people that know, but either they're scared or just part of or whatever. They're not going to say anything for some reason. They won't.
And they're the first ones to come in our face and tell us how sorry they are to hear about it.
Yeah. I want to bring up memories and talk about it.
And bring up the past.
That's just what I'm thinking in my heart. And I don't say anything, it just stirs up problems, but you're going to sit here, look me in the eye and just, no big deal. No big deal. And how do you live with yourself? I don't know. I couldn't do that to a good friend or a family member.
Couldn't do that to nobody.
That's got to be the most helpless feeling, knowing that people know what happened to your sister and they will not give up that information.
I just pray they never have to go through that. I'm not going to wish that on anybody. Even them. They know who they are. We don't, but they know.
Nick wonders why, even if they're afraid for their safety or the safety of their family, won't someone at least give up the information anonymously? But while they wait and wonder, the family pieces together the last days of Loretta's life.
The last time I'd seen her alive, she was smiling. It was Mother's Day. She had my younger sister's firstborn. She was pretty excited.
That was May 8th, 12 days before the discovery of Loretta's body. Her last Mother's Day spent with family, including Murphy and her 2 boys. But Murphy says that wasn't the last time he would see his wife. 1 week later, Loretta would call, saying she was hungry. He would get her something to eat, then drop her off at the bar. The next morning, Loretta would make her daily call to her sons, and at 6 and 3 years old, they would hear their mother's voice for the very last time.
I was at work, and my mother came out there, and she had been hearing rumors and stuff. She came and told me that it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that they had found somebody in the canal closer to Jennings, and they thought it was her. Me, I just spaced out. I remember my boss was on the crane, and he was swinging a large slab around, and I walked right in front of it because I pushed, because I was just out of it.
It's just hard to talk about it even.
I'm sure.
While everyone replays their final moments with Loretta,
Yeah, she was happy. That's what I'm glad. I'm glad I got to see that. It wasn't great to have a closed casket to see her go, but my last memory of her is smiles.
the what-ifs weigh heaviest on Chad. Unraveling the timeline, it appears he was the last family member to see Loretta alive, possibly just hours before her death.
I met up with her at the store. We hugged like we always do. Every time we separate, hugs, say love you. That's the last time I ever seen her.
Coming up.
I think it all ties into the same thing.
Yeah.
But doesn't necessarily mean it was the same person.
But how have they managed to elude investigators for 9 years?
Y'all done question everybody in Jennings, and you can't tell them nothing. Y'all don't know nothing.
lot of things don't add up. A lot of things are weird, but there's just nothing. We have no proof of nothing.
But one person says he does know what happened to Loretta. What you're going to hear now are excerpts of an interview with a confidential informant, his identity and voice disguised to protect his safety.
I worked a case that was due to narcotic pills being trafficked from Houston to Jennings. During that investigation, I was at the house where the pills were being distributed.
That's when our informant says a fight broke out between two men. During the scuffle, each saying they would tell what the other had done.
So after that went on, I grabbed one of them and walked to the side of the house with him. And that's when he said what had happened to the first victim. Loretta Chaisson. That's what they meant when they said, "I'll tell on you, but no, I'll tell on you." They both actually had something to do with it.
Our informant says the entire conversation was captured on tape, a wire worn by one of the people he used to gain entry into drug houses in Jennings.
I know you're actually afraid of what's going to happen to you at this point, safety-wise.
Yeah. Just know I did do the recording. I knew what happened, and I don't think nobody wants people to find out what really happened.
The family, haunted by the unknown, wants nothing more, while our informant says knowing that information has haunted him for years.
Just having the truth finally told. Me knowing what happened and it never coming out.
Here's the information our informant says the tape contained.
He said him and a group of girls were partying, and he was prescribed to methadone wafers, which he kept feeding to Loretta Chaisson. After a while, she collapsed. He wraps her in some blankets. Then he goes back and continues partying with the other girls. He went back and checked on her a few times, he said, but at 2 a.m. is when he realized she had died. She had OD'd from the medicine. Some of those other girls were partying with them.
That's when he says the men disposed of Loretta's body, dumping her in the canal.
So how has this affected you over the years, knowing you may have the evidence that could solve this case?
Oh yeah, it's bothered me for a while.
But you're saying you don't feel like you could talk to anybody in Jennings about it at this point?
I've already tried.
Okay.
I've already done approached everyone.
Okay.
That needed to be.
We contacted the task force and have yet to receive a response. We have turned over the information to authorities, including the name of the person our informant says wore the mic. That person is currently being held in a facility out of state on unrelated charges. While we weren't able to contact them, we did speak to family members, one of which told us they do remember a tape recorder and the person saying they were trying to do something good. While we can't say if this information is correct, what we can say is that our informant has offered to take a polygraph should he be offered one by authorities.
It says it right there. He's not going to offer that for no reason.
Coming up.
Oh, we're working on it. They're not doing a damn thing.
The family says even more shocking than Loretta's death, how the case has been handled.
So that's okay that she got, that she was thrown in a ditch. It's no problem. No problem, because she was a druggie and known prostitute. But you never charged her with it. You call her that? I don't understand. Hear about people dying or car accidents, and we hadn't had any kind of tragedies like that yet.
Never.
And when it did hit, it was unreal.
And Nick Chaisson says the shocks just kept coming.
What ticked me off more than anything is to have and listen to these people, Ricky Edwards, go on TV or put in a newspaper that they were known prostitutes. He's never arrested my sister. She has never been charged a day in her life for that.
We checked at the Jeff Davis Parish Clerk of Court's office and found Nick is right. While his sister did have her problems with the law, we found no charge of prostitution.
Who gives him the right to say that? That's what I want to know. Just to get it off his back. Let's hope that people don't care. That's my opinion of what he thought he was doing. I'll just say they were prostitutes, drug heads. throw it out there just like that, like it's nothing.
Knowing they got little kids that got to see all this.
And, you know, my nephew is 15 years old now. 15, he can understand very well, you know, and he has to see that, he has to read that. The other one's 11, he can understand.
The comment was made early on in the investigation, and after getting a firestorm of backlash from victims' families, Sheriff Ricky Edwards tried to clarify, saying he didn't mean to sound insensitive or imply they weren't taking the cases seriously. But Nick says by that point, the damage had already been done.
Anybody falls into a lifestyle, it just depends on how you got there. You can't just, I don't know.
The term high risk and its various implications would become synonymous with the deaths.
And then from there, you're still here.
The case is intertwined to the point it's hard for many to decipher where one ends and the next begins.
They called it Jeff Davis 8. They don't even call him my names no more. It's just, oh, Jeff Davis 8. Your sister's one of them.
In addition to monopolizing on the term high risk, this is another area where media played perhaps an even more ominous role than a thinly stretched sheriff's office trying to get a handle on the overwhelming events. But for the family, Loretta wasn't just one of the Jeff Davis 8. She was someone they loved, someone they stood by, even in her darkest hours.
She was depressed. She was pretty upset. She was crying. She hugged me. Anyways, I asked her if she wanted to go talk to somebody with me, and I brought her to see the pastor of my church. We spoke for a little while, and she just felt like she she couldn't be helped. She felt like she was just lost and was never going to get out of it. At least not in this life.
Tragically, she wouldn't. Not only did they lose Loretta, her badly decomposed body would leave it a mystery as to why.
I'm still trying to find out because, I still don't have no answers, so they still got a lot of questions. But my oldest son, he remember spending a lot of time with her, and, I've been teaching him how to drive, and he wanted me to take him out to decide where she was found, and I really don't know if he's ready for that.
After all, it's a sight that even for him still carries a great deal of pain.
Yeah, every time I come here, it's 1,000 questions go through my mind.
You may be wondering why Murphy is the only family member not to appear on camera. Well, he's now the sole parent for he and Loretta's 2 boys. And while he says everyone knows his name, many don't make the connection. And that's something that has given him comfort for his family's safety, fear of possible retribution, and learning new information about what happened to his wife. Answers, the family says, they've been waiting 9 years to receive.
Maybe, for instance, we'll get a phone call wanting us to come down and touch base, and, well, do you have anything new? No, we just want to
let you know we're still on the case.
While most say the often tumultuous relationship between the victims' families and law enforcement has gotten better since the formation of the multi-agency task force.
It doesn't do good. Nothing changes, nothing's different.
People talk about closure. This has got to be something that no such thing.
There's no. There's no closure until they're going to find out who done it.
Do you think you'll ever get the answers?
Probably not. But the good Lord knows who done it. They're going to pay. They have they're coming.
And get some kind of justice done for all the girls. I know they can't rest until, I just wish somebody would say something.
And that does it for tonight's special broadcast. But the investigation into what happened to Loretta and 7 other women in Jeff Davis Parish is far from over. Fox 29 will continue to follow the stories in hopes the families will finally receive justice. For myself and everyone here at Fox 29, good night.